What's up? Welcome back to Mindful May. I am working on a white tiered skirt today. If you have watched the videos past, you know that I've been on the hunt for something like this. I'm really loving white maxi dresses and skirts lately, and I decided it was just time to make my own. So I went thrifting the other day with my sister, and I got an amazing haul. I will show you that at the end if you're into thrift hauls. So if you too are looking for a white skirt specifically, I definitely recommend going to a thrift store and picking up a queen or a king size flat sheet. As I cut out my fabric, I had a little bit less than I needed, which was unfortunate, but I'm still going to try to make it work. And I'm going to share the measurements that I would have used if I had enough fabric. It is my goal to make this video as simple as possible. So we are just going to need to take your measurements from the length of where you want the waistband to rest and then measure down to your desired length. Write that number down. My measurement was 37 inches. That's the length I was looking for. Then I divided that by 3. That brought me to 12.3 because I want the 3 tiers. I'm just going to simplify for the sake of this video and my own sanity to just say each tier is going to be 12 inches. And then we're going to add the seam allowance. So for tier 1, which is going to have the elastic band, I added 1¼ inch. That's going to allow us to overlap the fabric encasing the elastic in. I also added another 1/4 inch for when we attach the second tier to the first tier. So I added 1½ inches to my top tier. For tier 2, we start with the 12 inches, and then I added 1/4 inch for the top seam allowance and the bottom of it. So I added 1/2 inch. So when I went to cut out the second tier, it was 12½ inches in height. For the third tier, again, our base is 12 inches. I added 1 inch for the bottom hem, and then 1/4 inch for the top of the tier when it connects to tier 2. So that brought me to 13.25. I rounded up to 13½. Now we have the lengths of our tiers. Now we need the width. And I'm going to keep this really simple too. You're going to take your measurement of your waist. And I measure about 30 inches. So for tier 1, the width is going to be your waist times 2. So my width was 60 inches. And then for tier 2, I took the width of tier 1 and doubled it, which was 120 inches. And then for tier 3, doubled it again, which brings me to 240 inches. I unfortunately didn't have enough fabric for that. It's definitely going to be wider than tier 2, which is the ultimate goal. So that is how you measure out everything. You're going to need plenty of fabric, 1 inch elastic, and a sewing machine. Let's get started. My first step was to attach my 2 pieces for my bottom tier. I just sewed 2 pieces together to make this one giant loop. So now that I've done that, I'm going to overlock all of my edges. So if you don't have an overlocker, you can go onto the zigzag setting on your sewing machine and do that instead. Definitely don't worry too much about overlocking or zigzagging or whatever. This just finishes the edges. I didn't have an overlocker for the first year that I sewed, so please do the zigzag thing. That's what I did until I was able to buy one off of Facebook Marketplace. It's a great investment. It definitely finishes things a lot nicer and cleaner, and it looks really professional, which feels good to me, but it's going to be on the inside. No one's going to see it, so go with your zigzag stitch. Hop on a podcast or something because we've got a lot of fabric to cover. I will say, for the bottom tier, you only have to overlock or finish the top edge because the bottom edge is going to be hemmed. So make sure to only overlock the places where your fabric has met together and then the top edge. That's for tier 3. For tier 2, the only thing you're going to do here is, again, we have to make it into one big loop. So we're going to sew it right sides together. This is a little bit tricky for me with white fabric. But whatever is the nicer side, and you can decide this, okay, you're going to sew them right sides together at the edges. This is going to make one big loop for tier 2. Something that I did that I haven't done before was that I cut the tiers at a little bit of an angle at the very end, kind of like a trapeze shape. This is totally optional. You can just blunt straight cut it at a 90-degree angle, but I decided to use kind of an angled finish, and I'm hoping that will lend itself to the kind of A-frame shape of the skirt that I want to make. So you'll sew that right sides together, and because it is the middles here, you will want to overlock or finish both the top and the bottom. And that's it for tier 2. For tier 3, Same dealio here. To make one big loop, you're going to sew the ends right sides together just along this seam. And then finishing the top and the bottom with an overlocker zigzag stitch. That is optional. There's another way to finish the top edge with the elastic. If you don't want to overlock it, we could fold over about 1/4 of an inch, then fold over an inch to make the pocket for our elastic, therefore not needing to do an overlocked or finished edge. So that is up to you if you want to or not. I think I'm going to. Okay, overlocking is done. Next is the time-consuming part. We're going to make the gathering stitches and start attaching the tiers together. So, yeah, not the longest tier. You're going to want to switch your machine to the widest stitch setting and even relax your tension a little bit. So the larger the number, the looser the tension. I just like to go like 1 notch from the basic setting. And then we're just going to go for it. If you've never done a gathering stitch, again, this setting on your machine is really important. And the other really important thing to do is to not do a forward and back stitch in order to leave those tails open. Yeah, they're called thread tails, in order to pull and gather the fabric. Turn this puppy on. I'm not going to start with tier 1 because we don't need to gather anything of tier 1. Tier 1's gather is going to come from the elastic pulling in the top. So tier 2 is where we're going to start to gather to fit the width of tier 1, and then same with tier 3, gather it in to fit the width of tier 2. So starting with the top of tier 2, you're going to knot forward and back stitch about 1/4 of an inch from the edge of your fabric. Just start stitching, no forward and back, and just go for it. Oh, this is going to be long. You might notice it kind of starts to gather itself as you sew. That's a good sign. Just pull out a nice long trail. And then tier 1, we will lay out flat. The goal with tier 2 is to gather it to be the same width. Okay, I think I about got it. I did snap a thread right over here. I'm going to have to hand gather this when I go to sew. It often helps me to have my seam ripper and I can make little pleats as I sew. So I'm gonna have to do that. I've got this seam, and I think I'm gonna match them up and pin it all together. All right, so how I did this was I turned tier 1 right side out. And this is the bottom. This is the top where the elastic is going to go. So I need right side out and then the right side of tier 2 to pin to the right side of tier 1. So starting at the seam, I'm going to pin them right sides together and continue going all the way around. You may have to smooth out some of the ripples and bunches as you go. All right, everything is pinned. I often like to check my work, fold this back, make sure everything is getting sewn to the right layer. And then I'm going to start stitching here all the way around, and when I get here, I'm going to have to make my own little pleats to make the gathered effect here for where I lost my string. Okay, going to attach tier 2 to tier 1, remembering to turn your dials back to a regular stitch. Let's go. Forward and back stitch. And here we go. This is gonna take a while. Wow. As I go, I am trying to redistribute the thicker parts, and having this little seam ripper kind of helps me with that. I'll sometimes just press and hold things down. You can get away with a lot in this skirt because it is so voluminous and fluffy. Okay, I feel like the sun is going down so fast, but I had to show you. It's gonna be so crazy gathered. I'm thinking that we should finish the waistband before we add tier 3. So we get that gathered effect. I'm so excited. Okay, I'm going to turn it inside out. Basically, I don't have a lot of daylight left, so I want to show you the waistband, and then tier 3 is going to be added to tier 2, just like tier 2 is added to tier 3. So, I'll find my elastic, either that I thrifted. Oh my gosh. Yeah, that's nice. Yes. Okay, I found this other strip of elastic. I think it was left over from a different project because it is the exact width that I need for my waistline. Basically just want to wrap it around your waist with about an inch of excess. Make sure it fits nice and snug on you, but not too tight. You could always put a pin in it, walk around for a little bit, make sure it feels okay to you before you cut it. Like I said, this one was like pre-cut to my measurements. Just give it a try. You could also, once we go to like install it in the skirt, make it a little bit longer, and then try it on before we stitch the elastic together. So just know that nothing is permanent. We can always change it later. So start with a little bit longer and then you can cut some off later. All right, basically now we are going to make the little pocket for the elastic. And we are folding this hem to the inside of the skirt. I might grab my iron this out. Basically, because we have a 1-inch elastic, you want to fold it over 1.25 inches so we have some room to stitch on the end. Then I'm going to pin all the way around, making sure to leave about a 2-inch mark. So if I go to my sewing machine, I'm going to start at this pin and sew all the way around, just right up against this serged edge, and sew stopping at this pin. So I'll leave this gap for the elastic to tunnel through. And as I mentioned earlier, you could, if you didn't want this overlocked edge, you could just fold under 1/4 inch if you didn't finish your edge or overlock it. Now grabbing my safety pin, going to pin it into one end of my elastic and feed it through the waistband. Going to overlap the elastic and put the pin in to connect the two. I'm going to stretch out the fabric over the elastic and get it ready to try on. Here's the moment where we try it on. Oh yeah, that feels good. Looks ridiculous, but I'm really excited for where it's headed. If you are happy with where the elastic is, you're going to overlap the elastic, switch it to a zigzag stitch, find some give, and stitch over the elastic a few times. Then we will move it back to a straight stitch, and we're going to stitch this opening closed. You may have to hold it taut. Another option to finish off the waistband is to sew another line 1/4 of an inch from the top of the waistband. This just helps the elastic to not move within the tunnel. It does over time want to turn itself, twist itself inside the encasement, so this could be a good idea to run a stitch over the top to hold that elastic in place. Alrighty folks, here's how she's looking. I ended up doing 2 parallel lines of stitching around the waistband to help hold the elastic in place. I just pulled a little bit as I sewed. Second tier is on, and I'm going to attach the third tier in the same exact fashion as I attached the second. So I'm going to lay this out, make a wide stitch, and gather it to the width of the bottom of the second tier, attach it right sides together, and then finish with a 1/2 inch rolled hem. I think it's getting too dark to keep filming, but I might see where I'm at after the third tier and check back in. My studio is a huge mess right now. We are going to move soon, so I'm so sorry. Instead of doing the gathering stitch, I'm going to finish the bottom hem first. Believe it or not, I did iron this fabric before I started my project, and it's just gotten crazy wrinkly in the process. Okay, so for tier 3, we added 1 1/4 inch. So that means that each roll is going to be 1/2 inch, because we're going to double fold this to make our hem. This is the bottom of tier 3. You can measure this. I have somehow lost my seam gauge. I don't know. Oh, I just found it. I remember my friend came over and he put it in a weird place. So I'm putting this at 1/2 inch. Another cool trick is, instead of doing 1/2 inch and then 1/2 inch again, is to measure out 1 inch, iron it there, and then when you're ready to make your seam, you fold the inside to the crease and then over again, and you have a perfect 1 inch rolled hem. So I think I'm going to do it that way. Once this step is done, we're going to pin it and sew the hem, and then gather it, attach it to the second tier. It's done. We're up to sewing the bottom hem. There we go. All right, forward and back stitch. Let's go. I'm going to do this all the way around the bottom until I reach the end, forward and back stitch, and we're done. It's a brand new day, and I only have one more thing to sew on this skirt. Last night after dinner, it was getting really dark. I gathered this while I was watching a show, and it took a while, not gonna lie, to get like all the gathers kind of even. Gosh, it's ginormo. I ran out of pins, honestly. So where is my pin cushion? So it's time to stitch it on, and then I think she's done. So I'm getting really excited because I've been thinking about the skirt for a long time. Here we go. And after this last tier is attached, she is all done. My studio is a little bit crazy right now. I am about to do a drop, so I've got all this stuff here. But I wanted to show you my thrift haul when I went with my sister. So first I got that white fabric that I made the skirt out of, and then I got some strawberry print fabric, and then I made this little top out of it. This is going to be part of my upcoming drop. It's all tie front pieces, and I'm really excited to share it. I found that fabric, I think it was $4. And then in the same trip, I actually thrifted 2 1-inch elastics. I got this lovely blue flannel jacket. Love that. I got a brown turtleneck for the fall. I had mentioned in a previous video that brown is really like a color I'm bringing into my closet for fall, and it was $2.50, so I thought I would try it out. I wasn't able to try anything on in the thrift store, which was annoying, but I tried it on when I got home, and so far, so cute. I got this cute crew neck. This says Self-Care Club on it. Oversized. Love it. The cutest blue and white sailor vibes stripe. I think people call it coastal grandma. Love, love, love this shade of blue. I bought a hat in the same color recently, and I just can't stop myself. I keep gravitating toward this blue. It kind of reminds me of this blue too. I'm just like drawn to it recently. I don't know. I got these cute gold earrings. I feel like thrift stores are a great place to find earrings that are like actually gold. They're so cute and elegant, and definitely like the vibe I've been going for recently, like really simple and chic. So cute. I just felt like I needed it. I don't know how to explain it. I've never been to Australia, but I want to go someday. It's going to be so cute with leggings, bike shorts, or layered underneath my new vest. Green puffer vest. It's St. John's Bay, which is a really great and well-made company. It's so cute. And lastly, a pair of button fly Levi's. I love this light wash, and I do really enjoy a button fly. So this was my most expensive item. Let's see, these were $15. Yeah, that's kind of much, but planning to get a lot of use out of them. So that was my thrift haul with the white fabric. I just had to show you because I was so excited. I spent $60 for all that, and I am really stoked to wear it all. Thanks for sticking around for the thrift haul if you did, and thank you for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed making your tiered skirt or just watching me make mine. Thank you so much for being here. Subscribe if you're interested in more thrifting, secondhand, DIY videos. That's what I am all about, and I just love sharing with you, and I hope you make something yourself. If you ever do, please tag me on Instagram. It's mindful.may, and I would love to see whatever you're making. See you next time. Cheers!